This lesson is all about business objectives, and the lesson objectives are that by the end of this lesson you'll be able to understand the 4 types of business objectives and the difference between a short and long-term objective. Secondly, you'll be able to identify which objectives will suit which businesses and why. And lastly, you'll be able to understand the conflicts or differences between different business objectives. So before we start getting into the main part of the lesson, I just want you to think about what is your short-term objective for this school. So what do you want to achieve by the end of this year at school? And secondly, what's your long-term objective? So what's your objective that you want to achieve in the next 5 years' time? An objective is something that you want to achieve, or more simply, your goal. I hope you've had a bit of a chance to think about your short and long-term objective. So I'll share mine with you. So my short-term objective is that I want all of my year 11 students to achieve a C minimum at business studies, and that's my short-term objective. And my long-term objective is that I want to be in a position in 5 years' time of senior management within the school, and hopefully even the head teacher. So you can see that I've given you an example of a short-term objective and a long-term objective. So now that we've looked into objectives very briefly, I want to give you a definition of what exactly a business objective is. Business objectives are what a business is trying to achieve. They may be over a short or long period of time. So it's basically, what does a business want to achieve? What is their aim? What is their goal? In business studies, there's 4 main types of objectives. Some companies may only have one of these 4, and some may have 2 or 3 of these 4 objectives. So what are these 4 objectives? Well, the first objective is profit. That's all about making money. The second objective is growth. The third objective is survival. And the fourth objective is providing a service. Now the key part of this lesson here, what we're going to do is look into the 4 types of objectives: profit, growth, survival, and providing a service in more detail. And we're going to be looking at what types of businesses have what types of objectives, and we're also then going to be looking at the conflicts between some of the objectives that businesses may have. So profit, the first objective. Profit is all about making as much money as possible. So the more money we make, the more happy we are. So that could be an objective or an aim for a business. To make more money, what you could do is have as little cost as possible. So in this first example, you can see here that a cost is 15p. So it costs you 15p to make something, and you receive 35p back for selling it. So your total profit then is 20 pence, because you've spent 15 pence on making it and you've sold it for 35 pence. So what happens if we try and reduce our cost or make our cost smaller? So if we have our cost as 10 pence this time, so we reduce our cost and sell it for the same amount, our profit has actually increased. So you can see here that an objective for a business could be to increase profit by actually making their costs as little as possible. And I've given you 2 companies here, Pizza Hut and JJB Sports, and these 2 companies are examples in which profit is their main objective. Secondly, growth. Now, growth is all about getting bigger, and you can do this in 3 ways. Sales growth, so selling more. Increased market share, so getting more customers. So in the meantime, you may be having only 25% of the market share, but you may aim to grow that and have half the market share, so you're actually serving more customers. And thirdly, elimination of the competition. If you can get better, you can actually eliminate your competition in the local area. And I've given you 2 examples here, Lenny's Barbershop and the Hamlet Pub, and their objectives could be to grow by either of the above 3 objectives. Thirdly, survival. This is where a company simply wants to stay afloat and not go bankrupt. Their aim isn't to make money, their aim isn't to grow. Their aim is to survive and just stay in business. Especially when times are hard and when things are getting quite difficult, especially in a recession, Companies may decide that they don't want to make money, they don't want to grow, all they want to do is just survive. And lastly, providing a good service. Could be another objective for a business. Now, I've put the word here charities. This is a very good example of an organization which aims to provide a good service. They're not bothered about making money. They're not bothered about growing. All their main objective is to provide a good service. That's all they're there for. Or, to put it a better way, just doing it for the love. And I've given you Oxfam and the NHS as two examples of organizations which have providing a service as their main aim. They're not there to make money. They're not there to grow. All they want to do is to provide a good service for the community. And Oxfam, obviously their aim is to help disadvantaged people across the world, and the NHS are looking for providing a good service in hospitals across the UK. So we've covered the four objectives. Just to remind you, we've got profit, which is making money. You've got growth, which is to get larger. You've got survival, which is just to make sure you stay afloat and don't go bankrupt, and providing a good service. Now, some companies may have only one objective as their main aim. So some companies may only want to make money and they may not care about growing or surviving or providing a service. However, most companies have 2 or 3 of these objectives as their main. So, for example, a company may decide that they want to make a lot of money, but also that they want to grow. A company may decide that they want to grow, and as well as providing a good service. So you can see here that these objectives work hand in hand. Now, these objectives come with issues and problems as well, and these are what we call conflicts between objectives. And I'm going to give you 3 examples in which objectives can cause conflicts with each other. So, conflicts in business objectives. You've got 2 objectives here, growth and profit. Growth is where we want to get larger, and profit is where we want to make loads of money. Now you can see here that if a business decides that it wants to grow as well as make profit, there can be a conflict. So there can be an argument between these 2 objectives. If you want to grow, it's going to mean you've got to spend a lot of money to buy new equipment or to buy a new location, which means that it may affect your profit. So you can see here that there's a conflict between growth and profit. Secondly, growth versus service. The larger you grow, the more difficult it may be to provide a good service, because you lose that touch with your customers. For example, if you think of a small post office, you've got a really good customer base. You know your customers, you know what their names are, and you can really provide a good service. But the larger you get, like Tesco's for example, they're not really in touch with their customers because they're too large and they haven't got time to have that good customer service. So you can see here that providing a good service can be affected by the larger you grow. And thirdly, survival versus profit. If your main aim in a hard time is to survive, it may be difficult for you to achieve profit